The Summer Lake George Games Expo 2026 is at the Fort William Henry Conference Center. That's 48 Canada Street. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on July 26th, 2026.
Welcome to the Cyborg Interactive podcast, where we help give a voice to creators. The people building games, making art, music, literature, pushing technology forward. I'm your host, Adrian Maggio, founder of Cyborg Interactive. Thanks for watching, or listening, depending on where you found us. We're available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you find podcasts. In this episode, I'm speaking with Morgan Giuliano, one of the organizers behind the Lake George Games Expo, a growing celebration of games, game developers, and the communities that support them. We talk about what it takes to organize an event of this scale, what attendees can expect at this year's expo, which is on July 26th, and the challenges and rewards of bringing together creators and fans. While video games are a big part of it, the event also features board game designers, cosplay, discussion panels, and a variety of activities that celebrate gaming culture as a whole. We also discuss the growing game dev scene in New York's Tech Valley and why events like this are so important for building connections, sharing ideas, and strengthening the creative community. All right, let's go. Lake George Games Expo. That's what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm. The Lake George Games Expo.
So who started that? When did it start?
It's kind of a funny story. So my not boring, but my day job is I work at the town hall for the town of Lake George. And, I talk to people there and they say, oh, we have this sort of grant program where new events can get sort of supportive funding to get off the ground. And I'm also a member of the TVGS community, and we were in their annual meeting and they were like, does anyone have anything they want to discuss? And I was like, hey, if you guys ever want to have an event up here in Lake George, I absolutely love my community in the area, and I know there are a ton of people here who would like to see some more, younger generation events. We have like the car show, we have Americade, and I don't know about you, I'm not really a car or motorcycle person. Yeah. So I just didn't really feel like, nerds like me were being served at all in the area. And it's an awesome place to hold events. It's an absolutely beautiful village to visit. So I went to the TVGS meeting and I was like, if you guys ever want like funding support to hold an event up here, this is a whole process you could go through and you can get like, your initial investments reimbursed, boring stuff like that. But I thought it would be so cool to have a video game event up here. The next morning, my co-planner, Chris, messages me, so what's your event idea? And I was like, I mean, it would be awesome to have a thing up here. I have a bit of free time and I think I'm an okay planner. So I was like, yeah, sure. This is what I'm thinking. Let's hold a video game conference up here. It would be so fun. And that's basically how it started. We met up here. We looked at a couple of venues and then we booked our first little winter event. I'm very close to the library. I teach art classes there all the time. So we had a little small pop-up event there last December. And then I toured a couple of the venues up here, and the Fort William Henry had a really awesome space. Scott McFarland, who's the kind of like venue coordinator guy up there, was super friendly, and he was so stoked to have like an event like this up here in the village. So that was basically it, how it went.
That's cool. So this is the first annual then? Not counting the winter?
Yes.
Winter one?
It's gonna be, I guess, is it biannual or biennial? Whatever it is for 2 events per year. That's
okay.
What we're gonna be doing.
Yeah, I saw the first annual and I was like, I thought they had an event already. And that was the winter one.
Yeah, I mean the winter one was just sort of us getting our sea legs, so to speak. we didn't have as much time to throw it together. It was my first time throwing an event. Thankfully, Chris is like a real event pro, so he kind of knew what we needed to set up to get everything going. But yeah, so that's kind of our little tiny one, and then this is our big summer bash.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to trying out your game. I hope I can find like a spare hour to run around and try everybody's projects.
Yeah,
I've just been looking at them for so long.
That's what I want to do too. Like I want to get to like every table if I can, at least a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we just ran our first ever CNY Games Expo in Utica, and for someone who might want to try to run something bigger at some point, what's your advice? Like, what's the first thing someone should do if they want to run something like this?
I would say my advice for anyone trying to do anything is to get help where you can, visit events like this, try and get the ear of one of the more experienced volunteers or like the event organizer. It's honestly a huge undertaking. But I think even starting with a smaller scale event like we did with our winter event is just a good setup starting point. Holding an event, it's crazy. You pick a date, you find a location, and you just try and get the word out there and people will come. It's, if you want to boil it down a ton, it's simple as that. But
yeah.
I guess I don't want people who feel like they want to try and do something like this to be too scared of it.
Right. So do you make games yourself?
I do. Yeah. One of my games, my friend is going to be presenting it at the Games Expo this year.
Nice.
It's called Vicious Cycles. It's a multiplayer motorcycle game where you play as little motorcycles that can wall run and they shoot each other down. It's so fun. I'm so excited to have people play it. I'm also working on another game called Dress to Kill that I exhibited at the winter event. That one's a roguelike deck builder where you play as a disgruntled fashionista who's fighting her way through the fashion industry.
Okay.
It's real fun as well.
So for people outside the capital region scene, like myself, the Tech Valley, right, is what they call it. Tech Valley game space, I think. I'm not that familiar with it. Describe what's happening in terms of game dev in that area.
Yeah, Tech Valley is interesting. As someone who grew up in New Jersey, it's still so weird to me how big New York is. Like, that there's so many disparate areas where it's like, oh, I'd like to pop over to this place in New York, and I check the map, and it's like, oh, that's a 3-hour drive. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But in Tech Valley itself, we have TVGS, which is this really awesome community. And we have a couple of big studios. We have the Albany branch of Blizzard. We have Velen, which I think is working on they worked on the new Star Fox game.
Okay.
And then we have just like a ton of like indies and smaller studios who are all, working out of the area to, make their own projects and try and get the word out about them.
I was going to ask, say, Lake George isn't the first place people think of for a gaming convention, but with all the game dev that's going on in the area, so where is Lake George exactly for people that don't know?
So Lake George is at the bottom of Lake George Lake. It is north of Albany and Troy. We're kind of the northern end of that kind of Tech Valley region. I wonder if I actually do know that there are some game developers who also live in Lake George. We're a small community, and when I did like a little radio spot talking about the Games Expo and working on video games, and they emailed me. They're like, hey, I'm an animator in the video games industry. Let's get a beer sometime. And we did, and it was really awesome. Shout out to the Tims, if you're watching this. They were both named Tim. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But
no, it's I was just talking to someone the other day about the value of networking and making connections. And yeah, you never know who you're going to run into and what what will lead from, what will happen from those connections.
Yeah.
So,
My philosophy is that you should like literally never burn a bridge unless you absolutely have to, because so many times people I was like, I'm never going to see that person again, just come waltzing back into your life, and it can make all the difference,
yep. Yeah, I think I met Chris during One Upstate in 2024.
Mm.
He had a table, like, I think across from us.
Yeah,
So
he's
that's
been
how I learned
involved.
about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, he's been involved in the community for a long time. He's really great.
Yeah. So it looks like you've got about 20 exhibitors. Is that the right number?
I think we're a little above that now. Let's see. We've got, I think it's almost 30, a little less than 30 maybe. Some of
Nice.
those are mixed in with like vendors and people like that, but yeah, we have like a ton of different video game developers, and they're going to be showing all sorts of like different genres, yours included, of course. Yeah, it should be a really great time. Tons of stuff for people to do when they come up.
Nice. How do you do your outreach? Like, do you actively try to find people to sign up to be exhibitors? Do you find a lot of people just finding out about it and coming to you and saying, "Hey, can I be an exhibitor?" How's that
Um,
process go for you?
it's been a mixture. A lot of what I end up doing is, since I'm an artist, I do a lot of the graphic design for the Games Expo.
Mm.
So, over the course of the year since we started planning this, I've been experimenting with like different posting styles, what kind of formats and images draw people. So mainly our exhibitor outreach has been me and Chris like going to conventions and talking to people who are there. Thankfully, as always, Chris is so ingrained in the community. He's been doing One Upstate for a while. So when we started doing this, he already had a bunch of people off the top of his head that he was like, oh, I could talk to this person or that person. TVGS has been a great resource. We posted on there a ton. And just slowly, to draw attendees in, we've been like rolling out ads on Facebook and Instagram. And that has sort of started to create a word of mouth, where now, a month out from the expo, we're getting a ton of emails that are like, hey, I'd like to show my game at your expo next month. And it's like, we're closed for now, but we'll
Yeah.
put you on the wait list for winter. So yeah, and we also just did some cold emailing, different universities in the area who might have students that are working on their own projects that they want to show. So yeah, it's been a ton of outreach. I've been thinking a lot about, the experience of this as we get closer, and it's like, to start an event or anything you really care about, you just have to get used to just yelling like the same couple of sentences over and over again. It could be so easy to get, lost in the noise of the internet and all the different things going on. So I think Dan Harmon had a thing where it's like, if you really believe in what you're doing, stand in one place and just say, this is what I'm doing. This is why I think it's valuable and cool and fun. And eventually people will come and find you. You can't really chase people around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I find that same thing to be true. It's like, but like you said, basically stand there and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing," and the
Hmm.
people that really want to do it will find you and join up, and it just snowballs from there. That's what I've seen with seeing my game devs, and yeah.
Yeah.
So are you guys trying to kind of build a local game dev scene in your area to kind of extend, like you said, you're the northern part of like the Tech Valley. Do you feel like you're part of that community, or you're trying to extend it to Lake George?
Um, I mean, the nice thing about the internet is I would love to have more people up here, living here, working on game development. But I think if people are going to move here to work on game development, it's just because it's a beautiful area to live in. Like last weekend, I took a 15-minute bike ride and hung out at the lake for a couple hours, and then I biked home. I don't foresee the industry necessarily moving up here, just because the population density is so small and there aren't a ton of like potential workspaces where game developers could move in. I mostly just I love like indie projects. I love small projects. And I'm working on these events because when I think back to being at game jams or going to movie festivals or going to other game conventions, I can always remember like those projects so much better because you're in like a physical space talking to these people and walking around. And that like personal connection, I think, really helps with getting these people's projects out there, getting them discovered, finding their audience. And similarly to like with game devs, like we've been working on a little mentorship program that we started at the winter event. We have a couple of recent college graduates and college students who are part of it. We meet up every month and we just talk about what they've been working on, how job hunting is going, because, job hunting is such a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to see our people grow. Like I'm not super attached to them being literally in Lake George. I just the people, near to me and who, interact with the expo, I want to see them all succeed.
Right.
I guess that's part of the purpose of holding a games expo is you want everyone who comes to exhibit to get what they're hoping for, to get that feedback and connection with their players.
In running something like this, creating something like this, what do you think's the hardest logistics problem that you ran into?
I think it's the hardest thing for me is just keeping sort of everything in my head. Like the spreadsheets and the documents and things like that can go so far, but like making sure that all the different components can come together and work together in lockstep. Making sure our space physically can handle X number of tables and chairs. Like that was completely new to me. Making sure that we have enough outlets and things like that. It's the little details have been strangely tricky or like interesting. And I guess my newest logistical concern now is what can I do now to make sure that day runs perfectly smoothly? What can I do now, or what can I add now, at the final hour to make every single attendee and exhibitor and vendor and speaker's time at the event the best it can possibly be? Luckily with the grant that we're working with, I don't have to worry so much about money right now, about making a ton of money to, offset our initial costs. That's the idea of the grant, is to, let you be brave and just experiment and try a new event out. But to me, I want everyone to walk away and say, wow, that was so much fun. I can't wait for the winter event. And to make sure that, especially the exhibitors who are coming from a long way away, to make sure they're like, yeah, that was awesome. So logistically, I guess it's turning, what is essentially an abstract feeling, like when you're at an event and you're having a good time, what can I physically do now to make that feeling exist in the future? Sorry if that was esoteric.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm going through some of the same things with the Utica group. Trying to figure out how to make
weird,
things work.
Isn't it? It's
yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, the only experience that I have that's similar to it, and once again, thank goodness I have Chris to help me out with this, is when I was planning my wedding last year, where it's like, oh, I have to think about what if it rains and how are we going to get people from X place to Y place, and logistics, it's like a big umbrella term for like a million weird little things, but yeah. But when you get it right, you have a wonderful day.
Yeah. And it does take, it takes, more than one person to, to really get everything running smoothly and,
Yeah. No man is an island, as they say. Like, if you want to do anything worthwhile, the best thing you could do is team up.
Yeah.
I think.
So a little bit about the venue. I've never been to the Fort William Henry.
Fort William Henry Conference Center.
Conference Center. Tell me a little bit about that. It looks really nice from what I've seen.
It's an awesome building. It's separated away from the Fort William Henry like hotel itself. It's got 2 floors, but all of our stuff is going to be on the first floor. And it's basically just like a big sort of building with a couple of different rooms. When you walk in, we're going to have a couple tables set up. The Saratoga cosplay events group, they're going to have their own little table for people to sign up to cosplay. We're going to have 2 tables on the right to, buy your tickets, buy 50/50 raffle tickets, that kind of a thing. That's probably where I'm going to be stuck the whole event. Just I really enjoy like welcoming people to the event and telling them like what they need to go see and how exciting everything is. So I'm
Yeah.
probably going to be over there. And then we also have TVGS is going to have a table in the main hall. Then on the right hand side, we have a big room. That's our Lake George room where all of you guys, the video game developers, the vendors are all going to be hanging out in there. We have a little presenter space. That's the Glens Falls room where people are going to be giving panels and talks on making video games. It's a little more secluded, but I think that's nice. It'll be a little more intimate and it'll be easier to nicely record sound and stuff. Then to the left of there, we have a nice long room with a bunch of sort of doors outside. That's the Fort Edward room. There's going to be board game people showing their stuff off. We're going to have a board game library, courtesy of the Adirondack Tabletop Gamers and Game Developers Group, as well as some play-to-win board games. Similar to a raffle, you play the board game. If you like it, you could put your name in for a raffle and you can win it at the end of the day. Then past there, we actually have a bar area, which is pretty neat. We're thinking if there's like more people who want to play a game from the board game library of Play to Win, they could play it in there. And then around the corner from that is the Albany room, which is where we're going to have our live RPG event and our cosplay event. So it's nice. Like everything I think is pretty well condensed. You're not going to get exhausted when walking from one side to the other, but everything also gets a little segmented. So the noise of the video game room doesn't disrupt people trying to learn a board game in the board game room.
That's cool. Sounds like a big setup.
Yeah.
Tell me about
we have a lot of volunteers, thankfully.
Yeah. Tell me a little more about the live RPG thing. Is that something people can watch? I'm not exactly like too familiar with board games, tabletop games. So like, is that like a D&D type thing, or is that something else? Am I totally off?
No, you're right. I actually haven't been keeping super good track of that. That's something Chris has been working on, so I might not get all the details right. But it's a similar idea. I don't think they're playing D&D though. I think they're playing another tabletop game. But the general idea is you're going to sit down. The players and the DM will be set up in front of everybody at their own table, and they're going to play through the game for 2 hours. I don't. I'm kicking myself. I wish I asked Chris what the name of the game they're playing is.
Sorry.
Should be fun. I think the DM John just recently did a live RPG thing at Adirondacon, but yeah, this is why you need to have a team. Cause
Yeah.
this part of the planning process has escaped me. I've mostly just been I let Chris take care of it. Sorry, Adrian.
All right. I see something about a play to win tabletop room with double exposure.
Yeah,
What's that
so Double Exposure is a company. They connect board game, card game publishers with events. So they basically, we ended up doing this at the Imagination event we tabled at. They sent us a bunch of card games in the mail, and we, had them available. People could check them out, play them with their friends at the event. And if they liked them, or even if they were just like, yeah, that was kind of fun, you end up putting your ticket in for a raffle. And then at the end of the event, we pick a ticket and then that person gets to take the board game home. It's really awesome because it's, kind of promotion for the publishers. They get to sort of have people trying out their games. And it's also really fun for our event because who doesn't like winning a free board game? Like,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Are there any like panels or talks at this event?
Yeah, we have a bunch of them. So I'm just going to mention a couple because not everybody has 100% secured their spot yet. We're going to have a panel on making games from a bunch of game developers in the area, including Kevin Root, Jamie Stevenson, and Stephanie Tysky. It's just going to be sort of an open panel talking about making games, and then the audience can have like a little QA section where they ask them questions on it. We are also having a couple of game developers who are just going to talk through their story of how they started making games, how they've refined their game over the years. And we have a couple of speakers on, one is for Choose Your Own Adventure narratives. The guy works as a writer for a Choose Your Own Adventure book company, which should be pretty exciting. And then we also have someone who's going to be talking about how to make like NES style music, giving a tutorial on that.
I'm interested in that one. Are there any games or groups that you are most excited to see during the event?
Well, I heard Cyborg Interactive's game is pretty cool.
We'll see if they can get it working enough to.
It's hard to pick. So we have one split table with Backstab Games and how did they say differently? Greater than colon 3 studios. I just like that they're sort of tag teaming a table. Both of their projects look pretty cool. Nominal Interactive, the art style of their game looks really polished and neat. It's always great to see Polyhedron Productions, that's CJ and Troy Story. I know you interviewed them. I don't know if I'll have time to play Messenger Mouse again, but it's always so fun. Both of them have like such great setups.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many of them. How am I supposed to pick one each?
I know.
I'm excited about Mini Tuna. Ichiban Games has some cool stuff. Angry Hammer, that's Richard's game studio. He's coming back with his setup. There's just a ton. I mean, I wish I could both run the event and be an attendee so I could try out everybody's projects because they look really cool.
At the CNY one that we did, I tried to get to every table. I think I may have missed one.
Well, we also have our cosplay contest, which is going to be our
that's right.
big event at the end of the day.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so we do have signups online right now if anyone out there wants to sign up to, participate in the contest. But we're also going to do signups day of. I absolutely love cosplay. I've always been too shy to come up dressed up as anything to any event, unfortunately, but I absolutely love the creativity, the craftsmanship. It's such a cool thing, and it's like one of my favorite parts of like going to any convention is seeing what people come dressed up as. The first time I went to Comic-Con, the guy in front of me in line was the Hulk. And he had these giant, like, jerry-rigged arms with, like, green pillowcases stuffed with giant pillows. And I thought it was just so cool. And, yeah, it's just always stuck with me. I mean, I think I absolutely love cosplayers. They just bring so much life to any event. So I hope we have a ton of people come dressed up.
It is really interesting to see what people create. Because the whole thing, I haven't done cosplay, but the whole thing is you're supposed to make it all yourself, right?
I think some people make it all themselves, but I know there are also people who, have fabricators.
Okay.
So it's like, you have cosplay models and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember I tried to be Edward Elric before a convention, and I found this tutorial online on how to make the automail glove out of like paper, and I think I got like 2 fingers in, and I was just like, I can't do this. I just had like hot glue everywhere, and I was just like, oh man, this isn't me.
So what are the details? Like when is the expo? Where is it? What should people know when they're coming?
Yeah, so the Summer Lake George Games Expo 2026 is at the Fort William Henry Conference Center. I think that's 48 Canada Street. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on July 26th, 2026. We do have parking on site, thankfully. It could be kind of dicey parking in the village in the height of the season, so we do have parking. Cosplay is completely welcomed. If you do cosplay, don't bring like a weapon. If you have like a fake gun, put like the orange tip on the end of it. I know it breaks immersion, but
Yeah.
you'll scare everybody otherwise. And yeah, our conference center, we're going to have video game and board game developers. We're going to have a cosplay contest, live RPG, panels and speakers, raffles. It'll just be a great time. My hope for everybody is that they play their new favorite video game or board game and they meet a couple of friends.
What are I don't know if you said the times for it, like when it starts, when it stops?
10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
10 a.m. to 6
on
p.m.
Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank
you so much.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Adrian.
Looking forward to the expo. Trying to get our game, trying to get our demo to the point where I want it to, but we'll see how far that goes. We will have something though. We will have something cool. We actually have
Sounds
2
good.
games that are possibly going to be shown. So
Oh, really?
we'll leave the second one for kind of a surprise.
I like surprises. All right, I'm looking forward to it.